Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I am joined by my good friend Venruki, and we are going to be jumping into the game and talking about Frost Mages in BfA Beta on the level 120 realm on the Gladiator Sanctum. We're going to be starting with Frost here, just a quick discussion, and then on his channel we're going to be talking about Arcane and Fire, and I'll go ahead and link a video at the end where we talk about those two specs. You can check it on his channel. So, hey Venruki, say what's up.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. Super excited about all these changes.
Yeah, me too. And normally I monologue about these changes, but it's nice that we actually get a chance to talk
Yeah,
together about what we're excited and maybe scared about.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, first, just like looking at the talents, I mean, maybe we could go through the talents and kind of look at what we think is the best in each row or kind of what we're excited about. And then we can kind of be like, whoa, what we're a little nervous about for Frost Mages here in the expansion. So, in the 15 row, I mean, we're probably looking at Ice Nova, right? Since we can pair it with Deep Shatter, we can pair it with Pet Novas, we can pair it with a lot of different types of Shatter combos. Are you thinking the same thing there?
Yeah. Not only does it, I feel like after messing around with them all, it feels like, especially since the Lonely Winter got nerfed a little bit, Ice Nova just pairs so well with Comet Storm. And like you said, if you're going to be running Deep Shatter, you're going to want that on-demand Nova. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it seems good, and it seems kind of like the go-to for now.
Yeah, and just like side note, speaking about Deep Shatter, it seems I've tweeted about this, I've talked about this in other videos and stuff. But the Deep Shatter change seems so good because there's no negative, right? You don't lose your Fingers of Frost, you don't lose your consistent pressure, but you just gain extra ways to burst. So now that you have Deep Shatter Flurry, Deep Shatter Ice Nova, Deep Shatter Pet Nova, Deep Shatter Blink Frost Nova, there's so much ways to keep up that consistent pressure in between things like Icy Veins or maybe if you're playing Ebb and Bolt or other big ways to burst, you have little mini ways to burst.
You're probably not running Frostbite then, right? Probably running Concentrated Coolness, Deep Shatter, and then what, like Temporal Shield or something like that?
Yeah, so those are the three I was running with, and then maybe bringing in Prismatic Cloak or Netherwind Armor in place of Concentrated Coolness if you wanted to play a little more defensive.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking like I guess you can't even you don't even have the option to really bring in Frostbite, and
Yep.
nor
No.
would you really want to because with the Pet Nova and Ice Nova and regular Nova, well, not necessarily Ice Nova, but the two Novas you have, you don't want them to be like DR. You want to control when you're getting those Shatter combos. So I actually like that a little bit more, giving you more control instead of those random freezes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think with Frostbite, it would be a little too RNG with something like Deep Shatter. Like you could maybe think of a build with Lonely Winter and Frostbite. There's so much theory crafting, which is exciting with the new expansion. But with Lonely Winter and Frostbite, like you could have a chance to just one shot with huge shatters with the extra damage from Lonely Winter, and then you'd also be able to shatter with Flurry. But then it would be a little less consistent than with something with Pet Nova and Ice Nova. So probably go with something like no Frostbite and just go Ice Nova.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that seems like the best so far. And then in the next row, have you messed around with anything except Shimmer? Like I feel like Shimmer is
Nope.
really strong, and we can kind of talk about it in the Arcane video. But Arcane actually opted to go for Blink. One change I didn't really notice is that Shimmer actually went up in cooldown.
Yeah, so I actually did notice it a little bit. I found myself because it was 15 seconds last expansion. Now it's 20-second recharge this expansion.
Yeah. No, I
And
definitely feel it. I just like didn't read the tooltip for a
oh
while. I was like,
right,
what's going on?
yeah. No, I read it and I was like, you know what? I probably will never notice that. And then in games when I actually hopped into some arenas, I was like, wait a minute. I don't have that Shimmer available to get that poly when I thought I might have. Okay, I guess I have to wait another 5 seconds, which turns into another 10 since you have two charges, and then it really starts adding up, and you're like, wait, I have less mobility than I once had just from a 5 second change. So
It is kind of nice. Like Shimmer has been like in addition to the Mage toolkit that's been like pardon me, absolutely insane. And I think one thing I do like about BfA in general, especially I look at my Windwalker monk and my mage. I don't know necessarily what's going on for some other classes, but I think nerfing some of these some of these mobility abilities like Shimmer
mhm.
is good. I think it's like healthy for the game. So
Oh, I
I don't mind
completely
it.
agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I like the design of Shimmer in general. I like Blink, where you could blink stuns. You have one every 20 seconds, get out of a stun, and you use it more defensively. And then to get things like Polymorph, we have things like Deep Freeze or Blazing Speed or Palm. Like I think those are a lot healthier for the game than something like Shimmer, where you're blinking behind line of sight and kind of surprising a healer that way. But it is the way it is, and Shimmer is still theirs. But I definitely think it's the best in that row, just because the way Frost works with Shatter combos, and the way Frost works with guaranteeing CC. I think it's kind of needed since we don't have those other tools I was just talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right. So that's probably
yeah,
going to be the go-to.
Yeah, and then in that next row, I think Incanter's Flow is kind of our only viable option as well. Mirror images, kind of, you can't control them; they break CC. Maybe a good option in duels, maybe a good option in some other aspects of the game, but in 3v3 arena or even like a very controlled 2v2 arena, it's very difficult to get enough value out of them. And same with Rune of Power, since mobility is kind of a problem there. You can't really just stand still. So.
Yeah, I think Rune of Power is probably one of my least favorite abilities in all of WoW, including like when I'm PvEing. I just hate having to like be planted on one area, you know. I always like to be mobile and be able to move. So Enchantress is my favorite, but Mirror Images is like especially, like you said, cheesy in duels and can like turn the tide of a fight very fast, especially if you're in like or world PvP. You know, world PvP is definitely going to be a theme this expansion. So I guess it could be worth running if you're out there leveling or just doing some war mode stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely agree. So Encounters for Arena, maybe Mirrors for other aspects of the game. And so this is actually an interesting row. So Frozen Touch, Chain Reaction, and Evan Bolt. I think we can probably agree that Chain Reaction is pretty trash, right?
Yes.
I mean, 3%.
Yeah, we agree on that.
Okay, cool. It's not very much damage at all. And you know what? I've been doing some testing between Frozen Touch and Evan Bolt. I was going Evan Bolt, but Evan Bolt doesn't do that much damage, whereas the extra 20% of Fingers of Frost and Brain Freeze, which keep in mind it's only, I think, a 3 and 5% increased proc chance respectively, something like that. So it's pretty small, but getting those a little more consistent pressure, being able to shatter with Brain Freeze a little bit more, and getting some more Fingers of Frost actually increases your sustain, whereas Evan Bolt doesn't really increase your burst that much, because if you just shattered with a Frost Bolt with the Brain Freeze, it would be essentially the same thing.
Yeah, okay, I do agree 100%. I feel like if you're just able to cast Frostbolts, Frozen Touch is going to be really good to generate those additional procs. The only reason I like Evan Bolt, though, and the reason I've been kind of speccing it is because if I get locked out on a Frostbolt, being able to cast an Evan Bolt is a really, really nice alternative.
I could be wrong, but I think they changed that. So I think if you get locked in Frost, you're still locked in Frost on Evan.
Are you on? We should test that really, really fast. All right, so we did just test it, and I was wrong. It's Evan Bolt is not Shadow Frost ability. It's just a Frost ability. So if you get locked on Frostbolt, you can't Evan Bolt, which is one of the what would be one of the main attractions for it. So Frozen Touch might honestly just be the go-to option in the row, I think.
And that's one of the things I think with Evan Bolt. It was an artifact ability, and now it's just, since it's a talent, I guess they decided, let's just make this a Frost ability. And that was one of the things initially I was like, that was kind of what you just said was kind of the reason I loved Evan Bolt, is because like, okay, I got Frost, but I can still do Evan Bolt, right? I can still burst, but without that, it just seems like Frozen Touch is kind of, maybe it just adds a little more consistency. So we'll have to see. And then in that next row, I think, Ring of Frost or Frigid Winds, depending maybe on what comp you're playing.
Yeah, I don't really see myself playing Ice Ward, especially if Ice Nova is our thing and we have a pet. Like, having 3 Novas doesn't really make too much sense. So, yeah, it's probably just going to come down to you're going to play Ring of Frost, probably if, you're looking for polys out of stuns. And so if you get interrupted, you can drop the Ring of Frost instead. Is probably going to be the only time I really use it. Maybe in like BGs or World PvP or something. But Frigid Winds is just so good. It's so fun to play with.
Yeah, I'm thinking in a situation where you're playing with a caster, maybe like MLS or maybe even some God comp, Shadow Priest Mage, you might want to run Frigid Winds and just keep everything nice and slowed and chilled and kind of control that game. But Ring of Frost, if you're like the Rogue, your Feral, going for those kidney shot, and then Ring of Frost, set up some sheep on the third guy and then heavy burst. So that'll probably be the distinguishing factor there. So probably Ring of Frost. And then for that next one, this one's interesting. Comet Storm is probably the go-to, but Freezing Rain and Splitting Ice, what do you think?
I think Comet Storm is a little bit overtuned right now. I hope they don't change it because it does a lot of damage. But like one of my favorite like burst combos right now is dropping a Comet Storm and dropping an Ice Nova, so all those Comet Storms crit. And it's so much damage. Freezing Rain is nice, but I don't know. Like, let me ask you, how strong do you feel like Frozen Orb is right now? I mean, it's strong, but it doesn't feel like it's the same sort of thing as...
It doesn't feel as the same orb that we've seen. It seems like, the animation's just a little different, and it seems like a little bit larger, and it seems like it's just not doing as much damage per tick, even if you're going something like Concentrated Coolness, which is why I don't even find myself picking it as much as something like Prismatic Cloak just for the extra defensive, because you can burst with these deep shatters now, so you don't really need orb. So if you don't really need orb and you don't really I mean, use it too much, then Freezing Rain might not be the best. But as we just talked about, maybe it's something like MLS, Mage Luck, Shaman, where it's caster heavy. You could go a spec with Freezing Rain and Frigid Winds, throw it on the Orb, throw it on the Instant Blizzard, make the whole map icicles essentially, and slow everything down. I could see that being viable. I would think the Ring of Frost Comet Storm would just be so much deadlier, right? Getting that CC and bursting.
Well, I feel like the Comet Storm Ice Nova kind of thing, or like you have a proc, and if you have a Flurry proc and you have Comet Storm and Ice Nova and a Flurry Lance, like that's gonna fill the void of Frozen Orb. When you play Rogue Mage in the past, you Frozen Orb on pretty much all your goes. That was how you did most of your significant damage, but it doesn't feel like it's absolutely necessary. And like you were kind of saying, it just doesn't feel like it does that much damage. So I don't know.
We'll have to see. I'm definitely leaning with you though that Comet Storm is probably the play. And this last row is interesting, so I'm actually curious in what you have to say. So Thermal Void, Ray of Frost, and Glacial Spike. What have you been running with?
Ray of Frost, and the reason I've been playing Ray of Frost, because I think it does a lot of damage, is good. The thing about Ray of Frost though is like it's like you channel Ray of Frost, people want to interrupt you instantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like the old Ray of Frost where you could like fake cast it and then start channeling it again, which I think is really, really good. If you channel it and stop channeling, it's over for your Ray of Frost. The only reason I like it is because I hate when people line of sight me. So I feel like there might be times in arena where someone's trying to LOS or run away, and I could channel a Ray of Frost right before they get out of line of sight, maybe able to punish them a bit. But maybe going for those big glacials could be good too.
I really loved playing that way back in the day in Burning Crusade or Wrath, and someone's running behind a pillar, and you get those missiles right before they go around the pillar, and you can, that was pretty fun. So I definitely see what you're saying there with the Ray. And so with Glacial, I've been testing. It's like 30 to 40 million K, rather, a lot of the times on those Glacial Spike damage, and seems like just giving up your ability to launch icicles at will with the Ice Lances and kind of just the long cast time doesn't make it worth it compared to Ray of Frost, but Thermal Void is actually very interesting, and I've been testing it a little bit with Ice Form. So Ice Form and Thermal Void will make Ice Form last 22 seconds instead of 12. And it makes you immune to stuns for 22 seconds, and it makes you immune to knockback effects for 22 seconds, which I think is the best talent in this row. I think Thermal Void is actually the best.
Thermal Void, yeah. I could definitely see it being good. I think what it's going to come down to is if a team has a Dispeller, like if you're playing against like a TSG or something.
Is there a Purge or not?
Dispel now. If you're playing against something that doesn't have a Dispel, I could definitely see that. If you're sitting in Ice Form for 22 seconds or like super long veins, like that is really, really punishing. So
well, what's cool, and some of the Azurite traits, when you pop Icy Veins, you get 300 Intellect. I think that's a trait, right? Something like that, which also works with Ice Form on a 1-minute cooldown compared to a 3-minute cooldown. So with Ice Form Thermal Void, even if they do purge it, I mean, your Icy Veins normally could get purged. It's getting you that extra intellect more frequently, and it's making you immune to stuns if you want to use it that way, and it's immunity to knockbacks, and it's 30% Frostbolt damage. So it's technically, Icy Veins gives you haste, 30% haste, and it's no additional damage besides that. So it's technically more damage on a shorter cooldown with a stun immunity. So I've been playing around with it, and it actually feels very nice doing Thermal Void Ice Form. Even if a purge team purges it, that really sucks, but they could have purged your Icy Veins anyway too. So.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I definitely want to give it a try now. That's the 22-second Ice Storm sounds busted as hell.
It's really broken in like Mage Rogue duels. You just pop it in the open.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Almost 50% uptime or something. So it's pretty fun.
Sounds busted. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So I mean, the PvP talents I've been playing with Trinket, and once again I've been playing with Ice Form. A lot of the times Deep Shatter and Temp Shield, or maybe that Prismatic Cloak too if I feel like I need it. But all in all, like, really excited for how Frostmage is looking. So,
yeah, me too, man. It feels really good. I kind of want to talk about the talents that I feel like are essentially useless.
Sure.
They need to. I feel like they need to be tuned a little higher because I really do believe that all these talents should be useful in different ways.
Yeah.
And the two talents that really stick out to me as Garbanzo beans right now are Chill to the Bone, like the Dispel Protection. So if someone dispels a Nova, they take 6,000 damage, which is just like
nothing.
Compare that to like a VT dispel or a UA dispel or something like that. Like
if they made Chill to the Bone like as punishing as dispelling a UA, that might actually be a very cool talent because you're kind of stuck in those roots, and if you get out of them, then look, you're going to be punished in some other way. That might be very cool.
Yeah, I do think it would be interesting for sure. And then the other one is Burst of Cold. Like Burst of Cold.
Yeah. It just doesn't do enough damage.
Yeah, it just
And then
doesn't do
even
enough
yeah.
damage. It's kind of been the theme though. Like it's weird, man. Chill the Bone and Burst of Cold have been undertuned for all of Legion, and now moving into BfA, they're undertuned as well. Like I really do believe there shouldn't be talents that are just worthless. So hopefully, maybe those get some attention.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, all in all, I'm super excited for Frost. I think I like the design, just kind of what I've seen so far with Deep Shatter and kind of these different Azurite traits and stuff like that. I think I like the design a little bit more than how it is in Legion, so I'm excited for that at least. Just quickly on the Azurite trait, so what are you kind of running with on as far as the options that you can go with?
I've been such like a fan of Frostbolt damage that I've been pretty much exclusively running Tunnel of Ice, which is the Frostbolt damage. Like the more Frostbolts you cast,
Okay.
the more damage it does, which I really really like, especially when you're comboing with like Deep Shatter and stuff like that.
Yeah, so on these Azurite traits, you can kind of pick how your spec really, plays. We'll talk about them more in the Arcane and Fire video on Venruki's channel, but I definitely have been using a Tunnel of Ice, but the talent that I've been going for defensively is Cauterizing Blink, just because I've been doing so many duels. And if you get triple Cauterizing Blink, I mean, you're healing for like a ton every single Shimmer, because it's that 1,260 heal every 0.8 seconds times 3, for every single blink. So I've just been running Cauterizing Blink, and you're kind of just invincible. And then for the other ones, I've been going with the Icy Veins giving me some intellect, like I was talking about, and that's very nice with the Ice form. And then one of them with the Tunnel of Ice, and then the third one is the Banner from the Alliance. So it gives you that mastery, I think, like we were talking about earlier. I think it's mastery.
I think the Icy Veins one kind of reminds me of Frozen Core.
Yeah.
So like one of the artifact traits before for Mage, as I'm sure Xaryu knows, but just to fill everyone in, every time you use Icy Veins, you get 20% bonus damage. And I don't think that the intellect is going to equal 20% damage, but it kind of like fills that void. So it's definitely a nice option.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's cool too, in pairing it with a shorter cooldown Icy Veins like Ice Form. Once again, we'll have to see kind of where the metagame goes. That could be completely incorrect, but it seems like it might be valid to run that.
We're gonna go back and watch this video, a couple seasons in, and just be like, God, what were we thinking?
What? We're completely wrong spec. Like, come on, Zar.
It's gonna be like running Bone Chilling and Glacial Insulation and
Chain Reaction owns with just Frozen Orb and an Ice Lance spec.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Talking about Frozen Orb sucking. But that's what's so fun about the beta, being able to test all this stuff. And I feel like Frost as a spec is like it's gonna be fun. Like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I definitely look forward to playing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you did not enjoy the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs down, and talk to me in the comments about what you guys think about all of this stuff. And don't forget to check out the Fire and Arcane portion of this video over on Venruki's channel. I'll have the link down below and maybe at the end of this video somewhere. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.